When you think of sexy, cool old trucks, most people think of a 55 or 57 Chevy. Hell, I guarantee most of you think of that 55 Ford pickup, but not too many think of a 55 Dodge. But that's exactly what we got in mind, and exactly what we found not too far from home for a very reasonable price. Back in the day, everybody bought up these pickups because it was the first year Dodge put a Hemi in one. But this one isn't getting a Hemi. This one's getting what's hiding in this crate. And just to make it perform a little bit better, it's also going to get a little Corvette put in it too. To make all this happen, we got to tear this truck down, find out what we're working with, what's roached, what needs to be fixed, what we can salvage. And the first thing that has to go is this horrible S10 suspension.
Alright, do it. This is not how you traditionally dismantle, but it's how we're doing it today. Trying. Maybe the other side will be a better video.
It's supposed to be like...
Aww, that was very anticlimactic. Alright.
Got the steel toe sketcher on. That wasn't freaking very cool.
Hey, so I'm cutting up some bolts with our plasma cutter today. We are getting rid of a lot of this S10 crap on the frame that we don't need. We tried to do it the right way, well, not the right way, but the other way, and use wrenches and tools to get it off. They won't come off, they're just too rusted, so I'm cutting them off.
Cross member and the steering's finally out.
Hey, there's a dent.
And go right to the scrap pile. None of this crap can be used.
Okay, what are you doing?
Alright, now I'm going to cut the top of this coil pocket out because this will all get plated over and there'll be a little zigzag in the frame here where the Corvette chassis will open. So I'm going to get this cut out of the way, slowly get this all cleaned up so we can get the motor and the cross member in. After some careful remeasuring, we realized that just sitting that cross member from the Corvette up across those frame rails was not going to work. So we hacked the entire subframe off and decided to rebuild it all out of 2x4 frame, all brand new. Before we add any more steel to this front subframe, I want to get this Corvette motor, tranny, and front suspension rolled into place. Find out just how much hacking we're going to have to do on the front of this cab to get these wheels to line up in the center of those fenders.
Keep going. Hair more. Okay. Oh, I can't do this.
Right about now, we realized two things. That engine sat way too far back in the cradle from that Corvette, and that firewall was going to be right in the middle of it. So we decided to keep from using the air cleaner as a cup holder, we would move that engine forward. But for now, we finished up the front suspension, got those wheels where we wanted them, and threw that motor in the scrap pile. We cut out a lot of the old frame, added gussets where needed to make sure this was going to be way stronger than any S10 ever was. Now we're going to work on doing the same thing to the rear. The Monolith IRS package out of that Corvette was the perfect setup for this truck. Other than changing the gearing to 373s to give it a little more torquey launch, we didn't make too many changes. Alright, brackets all drilled and fabbed. We started setting this thing up underneath the car. Got her all dry fitted and she fits underneath the frame beautifully. We've got one more bracket I want to build that's actually going to attach the front housing up to a cross member, and that's going to replace that torque arm that the Corvettes had that ran from the tranny back to the rear end. After that, we called up Racetrack and got a 4-link kit that's going to replace the original 4-link that the Corvette had, extend them out to about 3 feet. And then we'll use one of their frame mount kits to mount that right to the side of the frame. With the suspension pretty much where we wanted it to go, it was time to deal with this cab. We had to get some motor mounts built for underneath this thing before we could put in floors, core support, and build the box for the back. So we found some old round 3-inch stock, made some plates for it, modified the original mounts and got those welded up. With the cab bolted down tight, we turned our attention to these floors. Luckily there wasn't much there, so we just built them however we wanted. We moved the motor forward about 6 inches to solve that earlier problem, which meant we only had to put about a 4-inch divot in the firewall so we could access the distributor. Also meant we had a really shallow tunnel in the center, so it gave us lots of nice leg room in here. with magnets.
Held in with what?
Magnets.
Magnets. Testing. Woo! Working. A little crazy, but they're working. It's kind of scary. And the really, really cool thing, everyone, is that this is the original wiper motor that we got with the truck. Gotta clean her up and all that good stuff. But they work. One more time. What are you doing under there?
Putting nuts in the frame. Classic Performance got us set up so we could wheel this thing around corners at $120, and I finished up getting the inner fenders all mocked in. About that time, the new box showed up for the back of the truck, and no, it wasn't a fresh one for a Dodge. It was a brand new 50 style Chevy unit, and when you see it on the truck, you'll understand why. I really wanted the box size to match up with that body line that ran down the side of the door, which meant we were sitting about 1.5 inches too high. It also showed evidence of that when you looked at the wheel wells. So I decided to drill out these rails where the bed wood slotted in, and we'd move those up 1.5 inches, drop the bed rails down and see what that looked like. Yeah, that looks way better. But like any good swap, now all of a sudden we got to deal with the repercussions. The frame was now too long, so we had to cut the tails off of that and figure out a way to mount that rear panel on the box. The cross member up front was going to be too tall now, so we had to cut that down. Build the entire frame for the box up there. This was going to take some time. I chopped out the side of the bed rails here, and we built an old trailer fender into an inner fender to match up to the bedwood on the inside. That way we can throw any size tires we want on this monster. Now that we got the box mounted, I got the inner fenders done, and Amy dealt with that cross member back there. We decided we should probably get this gas tank modified so it'll fit. We had to make a couple indents on each side so it would set down in between the frame. And then I added a notch down the center of the tank, real shallow, but something that I could add a little extra beef to because the drive shaft is going to be running right through that area. Didn't want something exploding. Onto the aesthetic part of this box in the back here, we found some Apache rear steps that actually fit really nice. I had to take about 1.5 inches out of them, do a little modifying and add a few little pieces to it. Once they were on there, they just looked right. Then we extended those pockets down, let them match up to the new steps, and cut about 1.5 inches out of that rear fender so they lined up. Everything was perfectly straight. Because the name of the game here is you don't want anything to reach out and slap you in the face, right? If it doesn't stick out and look wrong, then it's right.
What you got going on there?
Beating out some dents, making music. Next episode, we'll finish up this truck, show you what it's being built for, and what's in that box.